What attracts fans is the fact that these cars are powerful, they're colorful, and they run close together. NASCAR fans are fiercely loyal to the sponsors, and sponsors really build programs around the race team to help them get a bigger share of the market. Guys have always wanted to race cars, and back in the 1950s, late 40s and early 50s, they were primarily racing them out in pastures and all that sort of thing. You took the family sedan, and that's where the term stock car came from.
The more people are exposed to this, whether in person or through television, the more they want to know about it, the more they want to make it part of their regular habit.
Welcome back, Texas Motor Speedway. A little repairs. We are under caution. Dale Jarrett, the leader.
It is a lifestyle, and it is, even though it's a once-a-week event, people seem to live it all week, whether it's following the driver, the car, or the loyalty to that driver and his sponsor, whether it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Budweiser or Rusty Wallace with Miller Lite.
Our drivers understand what makes the sport tick, and that is sponsors. Car sponsors, track sponsors, team sponsors, and the drivers really appreciate that because without the money for the sponsorship, they couldn't do what they're doing.
They built a whale of a structure around me as a driver, and promotional programs, stuff like that. And I mean, it's an exciting venture because fans that recognize the interstate battery car put me with that, and vice versa.
To every crew member living on 3 hours sleep, we pledge to trim 100th of a second off the next lap. To our fans who drive all night to cheer us to victory, we pledge to go 3 wide into the turn without fear.
NASCAR has its own identity, but they do follow a little bit of the NFL rules, and the NFL is great at handling corporate America and the fan and being a great event sport and TV sport, and that's what NASCAR is becoming more and more of without losing its fan base. The sponsor believes that the fan base and that, you know, not only corporate America but regular America, this is one of the last sports where the ratings are actually going up, and I think you can tap into the, you know, the upper level but also the blue collar, the regular guy.
Go down, Junior! Let that car down! Yeah! Go, Junior! I drink Pepsi, I eat Fritos, you know. I use Quaker State oil.
I think you can't help but be influenced. You know, does it make a difference when I shop? Maybe, maybe not. You know, if I like MGD better than Bud, I'm still going to buy MGD. You know, but you certainly know which driver is sponsored by which brand.
Our customers are just so passionate about the sport. We did a little research. We found out that this is either their first or their second favorite pastime, not only to watch it, but to even participate in it. Our drivers, our independent franchisees are passionate about the sport, and they had a real yearning to become more involved with it, to have some drivers that could champion our brand, and it's fit in real well with as we target and focus on our consumers.
The driver can't do it alone. We just do the best we can as a team, and the good thing about it is Dodge realized that, and all the dealers realize that, and I can tell you what, we've worked extremely hard to win this race, and we're going to do our best, and they know that we give 110% every time.
Obviously, it takes a lot of money to run these teams, but I think that's another reason that the teams are so attractive. People refer to them, as the Tide car, the Kellogg's car, and we've got just about every consumer goods company that you can think. I'm sure our marketing folks would say, no, we don't have this or we don't have that. You go in a supermarket or a grocery store today and walk down any aisle, and there's going to be something related on a box or a can to NASCAR.
People start to think it not as vandalism, but just as a game, really, because the wall in the streets are not private property. We want to show art where it's not used to be seen. The game is like a big interactive street game. The Art of Urban Warfare is a game I started with a friend from Holland. We tried to develop this project to feel and to involve people to action. Like we wanted to make it known by the world, and we only had cans and our French streets.
It's a worldwide game. It's not to promote war, it's just a game with a lot of people.
We don't like war. We really don't like war. And this is why it's a toy soldier street game. We like to play, we like to have fun, we like to smile. We like to touch, but not to beat, We have so short time of expression that we have to mark, to caricaturize. So when people came in the streets and see us like doing our shit, they go like, hey, it's about war, And so they start the dialogue and we can talk to them.
The message changed. I mean, there is no more just I want to take to mark my territory. It's more. I have a concept and I show the concept. I make it alive with different form, different shapes. And what you bring, it's not just a name on the tag, but there is no concept like Art of Urban Warfare do.
Yeah, it was firstly Spray Bad Contact, and now maybe lots of people who have questions about war, they go and they search urban warfare and they find this site, this website, and they think like, yeah, it's funny, you know, it's. I was searching about war and I found the game.
People in the street think that you are artist, but in the same time, people from the institution or people from the state think that you are just a vandal. With the police, it's all the time a game that sometimes you can lose.
This is why we are more activists than artists, because we involve our body in it and even sometimes our wallet when we get bills. Here we are in a squatted place and we know that this is a main place where people won't erase stuff, and you know, you can think more if you do it on a really public place, you know that it's going to be erased, or on a shop, you know, but if you do it low on the ground or a little bit hidden or stuff, it can stay much longer, or for years.
The concept remains, the artwork, it moves. You rise again, again. This is the part of the game.
David used to come on air every night talking about, this is during the last New York senatorial race. You know, Hillary, the road to Capitol Hill goes right through this guest chair. Come on, it goes right through here, and just constant pounding. And she was a guest, and she was a fine guest, and she was a guest again, you know, last week. It seems almost as if you have to do it because you look silly not doing it because everyone else is doing it. And you sort of by default have to jump in. Kerry has to do The Daily Show and us and Conan and stuff because everybody else does The Daily Show and Conan and us. And if you don't, then what are you afraid of, you know? Or you really can't handle yourself that well, or you're afraid of lightening up a little bit, you know? So you sort of have to do it. I think we're often more entertaining than the news, but not always. You know, some nights we're actually a lot less. And sometimes we're a lot more accurate than the news, you know? I mean, we've never had a Jason Blair scandal on this show. We have, I mean, you know, knock on wood, but so far, you know, we've never had a Pulitzer Prize revoked, like the Post or whatever, you know?
Well, let me tell you, in my day, we'd break our backs.
Angus, come quick! And I'm very comfortable.
For Scots, their culture and their identity are inextricably linked, whether that's in terms of the language of the Gaels or whether that's a commitment in terms of the debate about how Scottish identity is expressed through its literature, through its ideas and through its traditional music and song.
I didn't get a word of that. So you want your dear old Uncle Angus to lend you $200 till next payday? Well, let me tell you, in my day, we'd break our backs, swept chimneys, cutting fish, your father and I smashed rocks, milk goat 25 hours a day.
The guy with the money is the worst cliche, because that's obviously nobody likes to see themselves like that. But at the same time, I found it quite, was one of the better, ads, the one I engaged with the most.
The typical reaction of a Scotsman would be to get upset, the red hair, the fiery temper, and that would just add into the stereotypical view.
Pinched every penny, 'cause the world judges a man by the size of his sporran.
You could see some people being a little bit upset that Scotland is still perceived as this kind of funny little nation on the world stage, but it could be argued that Scotland is a funny little nation on the world stage.
Ali Alexander Keith drew each of those labels by hand with no tracing, so you best be giving that brew the respect it deserves.
Listen.
I need it. First date.
Yeah.
Not going well.
Wow.
You call me. I've got the date on Saturday.
So what was funny about that?
He's wearing a Corey's jumper. He's wearing a terrible, terrible jumper. And he's very unmodern. He's probably just stepped off a trawler.
Right.
You know, but thinks he can tell the world how to behave.
I travel all over going to Scottish festivals and I always stay at Motel 6. I get to rest, save money, and I'm very comfortable.
That makes one of us. We'll leave the light on for you in a Accor hotel.
Sort of works, doesn't it? It works. It was certainly, I'm sure it works brilliantly in Canada because there is an affinity, there's a massive affinity that you don't find in America.
So the donkey says, 20 bucks, same as in town.
Oh, I've got one. What do you get when you cross a hand talker with a beer drinker?
The Scots travel well, you know, and they make themselves at home wherever they go, and you know, they spawn huge races of Canadians. And
every advertiser, they need to operate around sort of basic stereotypes. There's no doubt that the occasionally mean Scot, a careful, canny Scot is there. But I think those are aspects of Scotland's culture and history and past that we understand. But I think in terms of most of those, I think they're still an affection.
So you pass the whiskey over your nose, do it with your mouth open just to get all the aromas. And this is you saying hello to your new friend.
Most Scots, it takes a lot to, you know, take offence at stereotypes. I think that tends to be the most typical thing with, we're quite happy to make fun of ourselves.
A spilly talker, dumping the pride of Nova Scotia on the floor.
In Scotland, I think you could get lynched, basically, if you ran a whole body of work like that.
Started making some biodiesel myself. I started using it in my cars. Some friends thought it was a good idea. They started doing it. I'm the pusher, yeah. You gotta come to me to get your fuel, so I give you your first tank for free, you know, sort of get you hooked.
This technology is about to drive the entire society over a cliff. It's a fantastically democratic technology to make a small amount of people a lot of money.
One of the first things people notice about when they start running biodiesel that's substantially different about their car is the smell of the exhaust. Some people equate it to, you know, French fries or, you know, fried foods. So it's really kind of cool to have a tailpipe exhaust that actually, you know, is a slightly potentially pleasing.
This is a story of an industry in action.
Gonna take me a press, gonna take me some steel, gonna take my two hands and build an automobile. Put in a rivet and a welder and a look alive. Wait till you see this baby drive.
People weren't aware of the emissions characteristics at the time, and the political situation about petroleum fuels wasn't the issue that it is today. Now, all of a sudden, the engine can only run on petroleum diesel fuels, or, you know, these thinner fuels, which, you know, conveniently works out well for the petroleum industry, but it renders the engine incapable of running on vegetable oil how it was originally intended. 100 years later, of course, people are now thinking that the idea of having a renewable fuel supply was, in fact, a good idea. And the emissions characteristics of petroleum diesel are definitely in question. So people are revisiting the concept of running their vehicles on vegetable oil. Here it is. This is it. This is where we get our raw material right here, the deep fryer. First we filter it out, and we get all the food bits out by just basically pouring it through filters. Very similar to like how a coffee filter works. And that traps the particles. The next thing you want to do is we want to make it thin. Now it turns out that basically a simple way to do that is a process called transesterification. This stuff right here, as is, can be poured right into pretty much any diesel engine and used as diesel fuel. And it's completely made from waste product. It's completely renewable. It turns out it burns substantially cleaner. Most of the harmful pollutants are dramatically reduced using biodiesel. I pay for all the supplies out of my pocket. The waste oil, I worked out arrangements with a local restaurant, so I don't have to pay for that. But I do have to purchase the methanol. I do have to, of course, purchase the water. The water has to be dealt with properly. You do have to buy the sodium hydroxide. So yeah, there's raw materials involved. This is not an efficient way to make biodiesel. It utilizes a little too much energy and time and whatnot.
How many people are you selling to right now?
I'm only selling to like a handful of people, to be honest. I'm probably selling to like 15 or 20 people right now on a regular basis. The diesel car market in America, like there's only about 2% of passenger vehicles are diesel. The real markets are in construction, 18-wheelers, school buses, mass transit buses, you know, all these other uses for diesel fuel. This is sort of a proof of concept, you know, just to sort of like show how it can work. People shouldn't approach it from the standpoint of, oh, I'll save tons of money doing this, because you won't, especially if you factor in your time. You can feasibly make biodiesel maybe 50, 60 cents a gallon if you exclude all your time, all your effort.
Is this pump turned on?
How many liters?
It is actually. That's good. There's going to be lineups here.
B20 blend is just 20% biodiesel, which is basically vegetable oil with the glycerin taken out, and it mixes perfectly with normal diesel fuel. In this climate, a higher blend than B20 is very difficult to operate, not in this weather, of course, but when you get into the colder months, it tends to gel.
Really what you're talking about is a premium diesel fuel that offers a better performance, will help your engine life, will help your maintenance cycles, but at the same time improve emissions dramatically.
Aside from the price too, it's a little more expensive than regular diesel, and that may be a disincentive. As long as the prices don't keep going up, that is.
But still less than gas.
It is still less than gas, yes. I think it's 76.9 here today, whereas gas is in the high 80s.